Thank you for coming back from our replay reviews. My name is Leah.
And my name is Kathy.
We are two friends who are here to replay, review, and analyze your favorite video games. And since Kathy has never seen the games before, it helps me view them through her fresh eyes, almost like I'm discovering them again for the first time.
We hope it'll be a similar experience for you.
Before we start on our first topic, I just need to ask you, do you have any conversations regarding Merlin that you want to discuss?
Yeah, why the heck did he die? What was the purpose of it?
Okay, I don't know if that's going to be a long conversation or not, but the reason I asked you is because I realized something. I don't think Merlin is a canary. Merlin is blue.
Isn't Merlin yellow?
No, Merlin is blue. I went back and I looked. Look at your face.
How is he not? I thought he was... What?
Our whole tagline is a lie. We've been lying to ourselves. My canary in a coal mine theory is shot. This changes everything.
Oh, okay. So as I was looking up, he's blue/gray. I don't know why we thought he was freaking yellow. The background of the photo of Merlin is yellow, so maybe we got that confused.
Besides the coloring, he very much resembles a canary, but not the one thing that really identifies a bird as a canary. We have colors named after this bird, canary yellow, and we still looked at a blue bird and said, you know what, that's a canary. I had to call us out. We have to correct this.
And don't defend us by thinking that we're colorblind, because I don't think we are. We just strictly thought he was yellow.
What color is this?
It's blue.
Okay, I think we're both good.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
I'm going to confess right here that as I was looking at photos, I saw a sentence saying why Merlin had to die and the symbolism. So I can't really claim it's mine. I just saw it, and I'm just going to read it. Gotta cite my sources, and this is heavyrain.fandom.com/wiki/Merlin. And
all the slashes.
Yes. What the symbolism for Merlin's death is that it, 1, foreshadows the death of Jason, and 2, it has the parallelism of Sean saying that he would do anything for Merlin to come back to life, is equivalent to Ethan, who's going to do whatever he needs to do to save Sean, which is completing the trials of the Origami Killer's games. And so that's just the symbolism, is that do whatever it takes.
Well, okay. Yeah.
This is not my theory, though. I want to say that this is someone's theory, and so I can't claim it. But my own personal thought was that it was complete useless kind of scene, and it is just to tug our emotions of like, oh no, a bird died.
Yes.
Which I know it is sad in some cases. It's equivalent of movies saying that the dog died just to tug people's emotions. I think it's just their first attempt at trying to make us feel something.
Yeah, I agree. It feels pointless, which is why I don't think they're wrong about the symbolism, but I don't want to think that that is the extent of Merlin, because it feels very, very out of place and unnecessary, which is why I cling to the theory of Sean saying I would do anything to bring him back to life, and they're, following that is Jason's death. I feel like he sort of blames himself, and that adds to his character and what his character is feeling and going through, which in turn affects Ethan. But again, we don't know what happened to Merlin. Did we ever do a so long for Merlin? I feel like at this point, we need to do a special summary episode, so long, for this not canary bird.
We'll just say mother respect her, because, he did no wrongs.
He did no wrong. So long, mother respect her. By Merlin. Okay. Should we actually get into the actual outline for this episode?
Yeah. So for our first topic is our burning questions, and we really can sum it down to 2 main questions. And so the first question is, why are there so many connections between Ethan and the Origami Killer?
So yeah, let's discuss some of these connections. We have the blackouts on the killing nights. We have the origamis in his hand. And the fact that he wakes up at Carnaby Corner North The question is why? If he's not the killer, where the heck do these connections come from? Could it be that he just has knowledge of the origami killer from reading newspapers and stuff? But would he have learned how to make an origami dog off of that? Would he know where this death occurred based off of that? Because I don't think anyone knew the origins of the origami killer. My only potential theory at this point, there's more that I'll talk about in one of our other topics, but for now, the only thing I can see is that he just read about it in the newspaper. Because if he's not involved, how else would this be happening?
And the fact that even if Ethan reads things about it, he also isn't doing anything about it. And I do want to cite one example is when he receives a letter about the church. So the quote is, "When the parents came home from church, all their children were gone. They searched and called for him. They cried and begged, but it was all to no avail." Ethan does nothing with that, though. And there is not much of a reason for that either. So I feel like our point of saying that Ethan being interested in picking up how to do origami isn't really a valid reasoning. Because we see him who gets these letters and he just comes like, cool, I'm going to go shoot some hoops.
He has very odd reactions to things, and very conveniently timed blackouts. It's suspicious.
And my reasoning why they made there be so many connections is that it was trying to make Ethan look suspicious. Who else better than the main character to pretty much gaslight himself into thinking that he might be the killer?
Mm-hmm.
With Ethan, you also see him killing Brad, and that also does make him a killer in some way. Not an origami killer who's notoriously famous for being a serial killer, but we also do see that Ethan is capable of murder, and he probably is capable of doing more murders.
For whatever reason, just this time, when you said origami, it made me think of something. So I replayed a couple chapters of the game today to look at alternate choices.
Mm-hmm.
And when the game is loading, it gives you little, like, instructions that you might have missed at other times. And one of them was, like, when you see this symbol, unfold it slowly. That's why the controls are so weird. They're trying to mimic origami folds.
Oh. Okay.
I've never noticed that.
And so maybe we move on to the next burning question. And it is, what happens to the fathers that quit the trials, that decided, you know what, it's too difficult, I'm just going to let my child die? I think the main thing is that Scott just leaves them to hopefully die from guilt. He doesn't do anything to pursue it. He just gets confirmation that they truly are bad fathers. And I actually, coming at it from a different perspective, I actually think that the reason why Scott is letting these dads survive and their children die is that Scott just wants confirmation that these are bad people. I feel like he just wants confirmation that fathers are terrible. And I think that's a bit of a PTSD, and that's how he grew up, seeing his own dad just not care. That makes me think that, do you think that Scott left his own dad alive or dead?
I have no research on this topic, but this is my immediate thoughts. He was still a young child when all this occurred and was taken away and adopted fairly quickly. I think most likely his father was probably arrested for, like, negligence, maybe even child endangerment, or died of alcohol poisoning. I don't think that this man lasted very long.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but maybe that's part of what you're saying. Maybe he would have liked to punish his father, but he couldn't, so now he's punishing other fathers.
That's really similar to what I thought too, was that the reason why these trials are so challenging is that he's almost in a way thinking of these fathers as his own fathers, and in a way trying to punish them because he couldn't do this so with his own father. And it's just this twisted way of coping with everything that happened.
The only note I put on this is still unanswered from what I saw of the alternate choices. So we're going to dive into those, which is topic number 2, alternate choices. So we're first going to analyze what happens basically if you abandon the trials or fail the trials. For the first trial, for the driving one, I basically tried to fail it. So I delayed it as long as I could by listening to every single one of Ethan's thoughts, and then just ignoring all the QTEs and crashing into everyone. And basically, time just runs out, and he crashes sooner and limps away from the car without getting the letters. And the second one, which is the coward door, right?
Mm-hmm.
He walks out the door and just says, "This is it for me. It's over." And then it cuts away. And then if you don't take the poison, you just walk out, turn around, leave. He's not necessarily punished for failing these trials or abandoning these trials. He just has fewer letters.
I can't remember, did we need the letters in order to go to it? Or was Ethan still able to guess what the letters are without getting the letters?
Yeah, so in our gameplay video, he got all the letters. And when I replayed and failed a few of the trials, he had enough to make a guess. And there was 3 options, and I purposefully chose one that I knew wasn't it. And he gets there and he's like, "No, it's a restaurant. I was wrong."
So what happens when you show up at the wrong restaurant?
He doesn't find Sean, so you better hope someone else does. But I will say, so everyone has like multiple potential deaths, right? And for Ethan, I believe all but one of his deaths are suicide. I guess that's the effect of failing these trials and not saving Sean.
Does Ethan just commit suicide before finding Sean, or does he get Sean's body like through the mail, or like, I guess, like you know what I mean? Like, does he get confirmation that Sean truly is in the water? Like, you know what? Like, you're dying right now. No pun intended.
I'm sorry, you said, does he get Sean's body through the mail? You said that, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking
work?
like chopped up in pieces or something. Like, you know,
Oh god.
I mean, my overactive imagination.
Oh, between that and the skin sliding off, we're gonna get censored. I don't know how to answer your question because I haven't seen all of these endings. Mm-hmm. All I know is I think if you fail to save Sean, I think in most situations where he kills himself, Sean's probably dead. Where that's taking me is this what happens to the fathers? Are they so racked with guilt that a lot of them end up committing suicide? Or do they just run away? Because I still feel like the ones that are missing, if they're dead, someone's going to find them at some point, right? And the news is going to travel back to their widows. Most likely at least one of them is going to be found, but we never hear anything about that, so maybe they just run away.
But I guess, what is the competency level of the police department if they never even resolved Brad's death or Manfred's death? And I will say that in Brad's case, there's like a whole pile of vomit that's all Ethan's DNA.
I don't know if we know that they haven't solved those cases.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Yeah, I just don't think they're important enough for the screen time. Because they did arrest Scott for Manfred's death initially. So he was at least a person of interest. So, second alternate choice is the finger cutting tools. We mentioned in that episode what would happen if you picked the worst things. And we decided that the scissors and the saw would be the worst. And I think the developers agreed because there is a trophy.
What?
Called Butcher.
Oh.
And it's using the saw or the scissors to cut off your finger. So I'm guessing the animations are fairly similar. I ended up using the saw after some deliberation. I don't know if you want to see it. It's
No.
If you couldn't handle the cleaver, you're not going to be able to handle this. It takes some more effort. I'll tell you that. So he does the initial, like, I'm going to try to chop it off with a saw because I'm a dumbass. And then he goes, I need to saw it because it's a saw. And then so much pain, he falls to the floor. It's not gone yet. So he has to do one more swoosh with the saw to get rid of it.
Can't you tell I'm making a face right now? No.
I'm sure that it'll be in our video episode, though, on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I don't really want to review it.
All right, alternate choice number 3. Taking versus not taking the Tripto. Did you have any notes before I tell you the truth, according to Heavy Rain Wiki?
I was going to say that if he doesn't take the Tripto, he's not going to be able to function enough to solve the case. And so I think that not taking the Tripto is going to lead to not arresting the origami killer.
No.
Huh.
I think it should have. The way that they put on these choices, where you have to take it or not take it, it makes it seem very important. But according to Heavy Rain Wiki, I keep almost saying Yakuza Wiki because so used to saying it, it says that the choices surrounding taking Tripto do not change any of the outcome in the game. However, there is a potential epilogue where Jaden dies of a Tripto overdose.
What? Did we not see the overdose scene?
No, because in ours he flushed it.
Oh, yeah. Do we know if Tripto affects the ability to use Ari?
From what other people are saying, it's pretty similar to what we were thinking. Ari causes trouble. And we've seen that with the blurring, the mixing of reality and the VR. And the Tripto is the medication for that, to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
He has withdrawals from it, and so he is addicted to it. And we discussed this a lot in the last episode, so I don't want to get too deep into it, but yes, he's addicted to it. If you take it too much, I think that's probably where you get the epilogue of him overdosing. But as far as the decisions in-game, it doesn't change the storyline. I think this is our most exciting topic that we are excited to talk about. I could have said that a lot better. I sounded like a 2-year-old. Topic number 3 is discussing the therapist. Because we both agree, I think, he would have been a way better killer in this game than Shelby.
But the more I think about this, the crazier my theory is that I believe the therapist should have been the killer because the therapist could be the reason why Ethan gets his blackouts. The therapist is either doing some kind of hypnotizing therapy or something that is causing him to have these blackouts. Or maybe he helps Scott Shelby just throw Ethan in the trunk and move him from point A to point B. And he's the reason why there's an origami in his hand, is that the therapist is probably there to shove that origami into his hands and into all the other victims and to be pretty much Scott Shelby's alibi. And I also do think that Scott isn't capable of doing all this by himself. I think he needed an accomplice.
Yeah. The doctor should have been the killer. It makes more sense. He's a Warnicki in the making. He is. Mine differs from yours a little bit, but let's just start from the beginning. So, like, point 1 for me, he could have put these ideas in Ethan's mind. You know, the visions of drowning bodies, the location of Carnaby Corner North. And then he says that, like, the visions of drowning bodies are a result of his trauma surrounding Jason and potential brain damage. Okay, brain damage makes you think that could be anything. That could do anything to your brain. Okay. But that's pretty coincidental that it's drowning bodies and it has nothing to do with the trauma that he experienced with Jason. So that to me is a red flag. And it would explain why Ethan knows the location of the incident that took place with Scott and John. Point number 2, he could be causing the blackouts that we still don't understand. Like you said, hypnosis, anything like that. He could easily do that. And this is a great way to ensure that Ethan does not have an alibi. Point 3, I think he's been waiting for his perfect fall guy, and Ethan is just sick enough to be able to convince him or put ideas in his head and not only control him in this way, but also get him to actually believe that he is the killer. It's even Ethan cannot see another explanation other than him being the killer. He believes he is the killer for a long time. And again, this also helps explain why the doctor refused to talk to Jaden and Blake about Ethan while he was being physically assaulted, only to tell them everything and implicate Ethan when there was no direct threat against him. I just think that the doctor would be a better killer. I think it fills in a lot of these plot holes that we've been discussing, whereas Scott Shelby is just maybe a more interesting killer because he's one of the main characters.
I agree too. I guess it has to be Scott Shelby because when we play as this character, I mean, how often do you get to play as the serial killer? And also, he seems like a good guy helping all these families when in fact he's just destroying evidence. My other take of this, in a way, a tangent, if this was the therapist being the actual killer, I think that could tie back to the letter that Ethan got about when the parents came home from church. And the reason why I'm saying this is because this office of where the therapy sessions are, they're stained glass, and I associate that with churches. And so when the parents came home from church being his therapy office all their children were gone. And in that case, the therapist probably had someone helping him kidnap all these children. They search and call for them, so the parents are trying to find their kids. And they cried and begged, but it just that I feel like everything fits better with that letter, because right now we're doing nothing with the letter. And if I was the game creator, I would have made the therapist a killer, and this letter would have made a lot more sense.
But I think we are going to post about this in Reddit, because I think it warrants a discussion. So if you have thoughts on this, go find our Reddit. It'll be linked. However, as we've been discussing, especially around this therapist, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And that's why we're going to watch Cutting Room Floor, which, and I quote, addresses some of the development history of Heavy Rain, explaining plot holes, as well as some small informational extras. So maybe this will fill in a lot of these questions for us. So we're going to go ahead and watch this now. It's only like 5 minutes long.
Okay. I'm excited to watch it.
In the original version of the game, Shelby entered Anne Shepard's hospital room just after Madison. He hugged her in his arms and then smothered her with a pillow. We decided to exclude this very violent scene.
What?
This just started so hard.
It's very intense. And I don't know if you'd have to be the one controlling the act of killing your mother. I feel like this should come with trigger warnings. My goodness.
A man who venerates the concept of the father to such a degree, and by extension, the concept of the family, cannot kill his mother like that. And although we learn that Anne's son never visits her, it may have been too radical to envisage Shelby getting rid of his own mother, who is senile to boot, therefore incapable of remembering that he is there. By merely looking at his mother without talking to her, he again becomes the little boy who is desperately seeking a father worthy of the name in a world that has disappointed him. Initially, the idea was that when Ethan had his blackouts, he would find himself in a sort of nightmare, lost in the ruins of a house underwater. Ethan would swim without really knowing where to go, just following the corridors until he came upon the body of the child, the victim of the origami.
What?
He would then wake up, as in the final version, in Carnaby Square, with an origami figure in his hand. The first blackout takes place after Ethan puts his son Sean to bed. Once Sean is asleep, Ethan goes back downstairs. But when he reaches the bottom of the stairs, he sees water on the floor at the front door. He turns around and sees water coming down the stairs behind him. The water continues to rise. Looking out the windows, we realize that the water outside is already higher than the house. Ethan runs toward the front door of the house. When he gets there, the door literally explodes and an enormous quantity of water submerges Ethan. The second blackout, which is much more spectacular, happens when Ethan loses Sean in the park. The camera started to tremble more and more, and a tsunami suddenly submerged that whole part of the city. Then we found Ethan underwater, as in the previous blackout. Two similar elements for a paranormal explanation. Shelby was present at the time of Ethan's accident, and a special bond was forged between them. From then on, Ethan accessed Shelby's mind whenever he killed children.
What?
Are you f***ing kidding me?
What?
There's no f***ing way. I'm sorry.
Access. What?
I'm sorry. So you're telling me the explanation for their blackouts is that their minds melded?
What?
Off. Off, David Cage.
I'm speechless right now, so let's keep going. But what the absolute heck is going on?
Corresponding to the times when Ethan found himself in the house underwater, filled with Shelby's memories.
What?
The water is the metaphorical representation of the killer's mind. During his blackouts, Ethan goes to Carnaby Square, the place where Shelby's brother died, and he makes an origami figure at the same time as the killer makes one to leave in the hands of the victim. These scenes were not retained in the end because they made the story too complex and
Was it complex
or was it
stupid?
that added nothing to the story.
They made the story too complex. No. If this had been part of the game from the get-go, and there was a paranormal aspect to it, number one, that could explain Merlin a little bit better, which, by the way, Merlin was like a medieval warlock or something, so another connection there. But if this had been included, it fills in a plot hole, which is what the hell is going on with these blackouts, and why does Ethan have so many connections to the origami killer? Two of our biggest questions that we have. They can be explained by this. I don't like it. But if this was part of the game and if a more of a paranormal aspect was included in the game as a whole, I would be into this. I would rather have this than have plot holes. And I hate it when games say the audience is too stupid to understand, because that's essentially what they just told us.
Or was it that they recognize how stupid it is, so they cut? But here's the... no hate towards game creators, but my thoughts is that if you're going to cut all these blackouts, why didn't you cut everything? Why did you still leave some blackouts and some conversation of it when you don't really do anything with it? Like, why not just cut it more? Right. Don't do it for the sake of dragging out time, because I think this is complete and utter bullcrap. I think that if you are going to leave blackout scenes in it, leave everything, or don't leave it at all. Don't just leave a few things and say that, oh, the game player is going to be too stupid to understand.
100%. It's like they took away the cause but left the effect. You can't have effect without the cause and not have the audience be confused. I'd rather see the cause and be like, I don't really understand what's going on, but it seems to affect this. But they took the cause away and left us with only the effect, which leaves us extremely confused and full of plot holes.
Well, the thing is that
Swiss cheese.
The effect was even isolated. I feel like the effect should have been taken away because it doesn't really do much to it. It doesn't add value. It only adds confusion. And I think if you ever get a scene that adds confusion instead of value, then maybe you need to consider not putting it in. Sorry, I'm just so frustrated and heated right now.
Well, they could have even cut these scenes but added in a few things of, like, Ethan having weird flashes of someone else's memories. You know what I mean? Any small clue, subtle hint, or even him saying to his therapist, I'm having flashbacks of, like, things that I don't remember living. It's like I'm seeing someone else's memories. 2 lines, and you have it. Mm-hmm. I'm not confused anymore. I'm intrigued. Okay, we're mad. I paused at 3:12. I paused at 3:12. We're going to continue.
We decided to remove them a few months before the end of development, particularly in order to speed up the start of the game, recenter the narration, and anchor the story in reality. This scene shows us Ethan getting out of bed in the morning. He goes to wake up Sean to take him to school. The scene is redundant because of the father and son scene. However, this part of the game was not without interest. It placed the player in the role of a responsible father, looking after his son and himself. As he passes near the letterbox, Ethan notices the origami killer's letter that informs him that his son will soon disappear. Of course, it is a touching scene, but too close to the father and son and the birthday scene for it to have any real existence of its own. We therefore decided to include the letter in the father and son scene and to get rid of this scene.
That one actually made sense.
Okay.
Madison is the most enigmatic character in the game.
Debatable.
It's like they listened to us.
Yeah.
Are just yanking our chain right now.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Okay, here we go. 420. Okay.
We know very little about her, an insomniac journalist investigating the origami killer. In one of the first versions of the game design, Madison went to her newspaper office several times. At the American Tribune, she could conduct research to find possible suspects, speak with her boss, and write articles after her missions. In the same way, Madison's apartment was different in the beginning. It was in the process of being redecorated. One of the player's first tasks was to repaint and change the layout of the apartment in order to personalize it. This was an interesting characterization process for a character who still remains quite mysterious. We never learn in the game why Madison suffers from insomnia. In reality, it stems from her past. As a journalist, she was a war correspondent during the armed conflict in Iraq.
Okay.
What?
I don't know how we got there.
Well, that doesn't explain anything about her weird dream about getting her neck sliced, right?
I don't know, unless she was saw something like that.
Well, okay, if that's not the case, then why didn't they take out the entire first scene of when we meet Madison and then we didn't have to make her shower in some stupid, pointless showering scene?
Well, Kathy, they had to leave in the boob break.
Ugh.
Remember, every game needs a boob break. Okay, so does it answer questions for us? Yes, but not that we like.
Mm-hmm.
I think they made a mistake removing those scenes and then not having a replacement for them because it takes away the whole explanation for what's happening in Ethan's life, and instead it leaves it looking like they're just trying to make Ethan this really big red herring, and there's no reason to it. I mean, they don't care what we think, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at I feel like you making me watch this video makes me even a bit more annoyed about this game than I was.
See, I knew it included some information on the blackouts, and I can tell you that that's the last thing I expected. Mm-hmm. The absolute last thing. 100% our theory for who the killer should have been is better. Mm-hmm. It's better.
Mm-hmm.
I like the mind meld theory if it had been, like I said, explored in the story other than just in those blackouts. I think that would have been cool. That would have added a whole new element to the story. Instead, we are just angry.
I guess they could have done a better job of even hinting that there's an ability to do so. There's some mysterious elements to this from sorcery or everything. Maybe they're able to do some live switching and fate switching with Merlin and everything, just to kind of show that this isn't about a realistic game of what happens in reality. This is a game with some magical elements in it and some mind swapping or mind accessing parts to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that they cut these just a few months before launch, so they wouldn't have a lot of time to replace it with things, but
then maybe don't launch the game.
Right. If they had just a scene with, oh, look, Merlin's alive now, after Jason's death, gives you some more of that supernatural aspect. Mm-hmm. And instead of him going to the psychologist, have him go to, a palm reader or a medium and be like, I have these weird visions that are not from my life. Should we move on to topic number 5?
Mm-hmm. It is the KFC section.
Kathy's favorite character, which led us into a weird Kentucky Fried Chicken theme, I guess. So, of course, we had to order KFC for dinner, and I'm still sipping on that Sweet Lightning. Again, we are not sponsored. Yes. I would like for KFC, if you could send me, though, one of your food-warming game consoles. That's all I ask for in exchange for this free advertisement. Please. Are you ready to tell me who the KFC is?
I was actually going to give you my top few choices, and maybe you want to choose. So, for nominations for the KFC, we have Merlin, who's the reason why we started with some crazy theories and everything, even though we thought he was yellow and he's actually gray/blue. Manfred, who did nothing wrong. He was just there trying to help. And he's just this kind of cute little dude who really seems to be an honest dude. Jaden, who, obviously solves the case, so we got to nominate him. Ari/the butler. I don't know if they're the same person, but I'm just going to say them. They're together. It's really the real reason why Jaden was able to solve the case. And then we have Jean, who's cool, calm, collected despite drowning, shows no signs of PTSD, even though he has plenty of reason to do so. And he doesn't blame his dad for being kidnapped and for taking so long. So with that being said, I guess between Merlin, Manfred, Jaden, Butler/Ari, and Sean, who do you think was my KFC pick?
Let me test my psychology muscles. I am not involved in psychology in any way, so don't take that too literally.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's either Manfred or the Ari Butler because for some reason those two characters have a very similar feel to me, and none of the other characters are related in any way. So I feel like you put one of them in there to throw me off, and I'm going to say it's Manfred. Because he's a sweet old man, and he shared his bottle of scotch.
Oh, so close. It was Ari and the butler.
Damn.
I think really, I mean, Manfred was a really good guess. He probably is my second favorite character. And the real reason why, in addition to Ari being the sole reason why Jaden's able to do his police work, is that he does try to keep Jaden on the up and up of not being an addict. He pretty much just tells Jaden that, I'm like, hey, gotta be careful. And then he also brings vodka, which I know there's so much question around that. But I thought it would be kind of fun to explore that option.
Yes. We'll post in Reddit not only about the psychologist, but also about the vodka.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are our two remaining burning questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kathy. As you know, I checked the menu today at KFC.
Mm-hmm.
They no longer have the Kentucky Scorcher. It's just called the Spicy Chicken Sandwich, but we're not going to change our category. So you gotta tell me, who's the Kentucky Scorcher? Who is the hottest, the spiciest character?
I feel like I don't have much choice, and for humans, I'd say Jaden.
What do you mean for humans? There's one bird in the can. Right?
It would have been the bird.
What are you talking about? The hell are you talking about?
I really didn't. I mean, like, by looks, sure, Jaden, but I also feel like, what do you expect me to say? A negligent father or a murderer? Or child who's not even 18? Like, what do you want me to say?
Oh, not even 8. I'm glad you brought that aspect of it up, because as you know, at the end of last season, we discussed that as women, it's very hard to judge physical hotness when you know personality and characteristics of the people. And so this season, to negate that, I sent you a slideshow for every game with the most prominent characters, a handful of the most prominent characters in each game, and had you select, without knowing anything about these characters, which one is the most physically attractive. And you left some notes.
Mm-hmm. I thought that would be fun. Give me my first reactions to all these and tell me how right or wrong they are. But now I cannot remember what I said, and now I'm wondering if I'm going to hate old Kathy for saying some of the stuff.
So I'll include the image of the slide and the video episode on YouTube.
Gosh.
Oh
I hope I didn't say Brad.
I've been holding on to this. I have been holding on to this.
Okay.
Since I sent this out to you and you gave me your responses. So I'm extremely excited right now to be doing this.
I'm extremely nervous.
So here it is. Here's
I'm
the thing
nervous.
that you received.
Oh my god. Okay.
So I'm now going to read to you what you said. We're going to start from number 1, which is a picture of Charles Kramer. And here's what you said. Looks like he starts as a good guy, but turns out that he's betraying people. You got half of that right.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to number 2, who is Mad Jack. You said, looks like he's the muscle, but not the main character. Close enough, we'll give you that. Number 3, who is Scott Shelby. You said, looks like he's an old vet in a team of people who are on a heist. And that's when the notes started to take a turn, I noticed.
What?
Number
Really?
4 is Norman Jaden. And about him you said, looks like the corporate finance bro who will betray people. Wrong there. Number 5 is Lieutenant Carter Blake. And of him you said, looks like he's the villain and head of a mafia. And then 6, which is Ethan, you said, looks like 5's right-hand man.
Oh.
No. And then number 7. Number 7 is Gordy Kramer, who you said looks like an undercover dude from 5's rival clan, which I don't understand because there's no clans in the mafia. But here was your pick. Are you ready?
Oh god, I hope I said 2 or 4.
Well, you didn't.
Oh no. Oh god, I hope I didn't say 7 or 5.
You said? Based on no context of the game and only in terms of looks, I'm gonna say 7.
Feels pale as crap, man.
In terms of looks, and then you said, but he's very pasty white, to which I took great offense, and I have to tell you that we prefer the term porcelain. Okay.
Oh
When I looked at your comments when you returned this to me, I was astonished. You picked Gordy Kramer.
I'm shocked too.
You didn't pick Norman Jayden? What's wrong with that picture of him?
I don't know how to defend myself.
You can't. There is no defending yourself.
I just didn't. Maybe I don't like the looks of Jaden. I don't know. I mean, I would pick Jaden right now, but
That's because you know he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Hence why we did this.
Yeah.
Oh, this was the best idea that we've had.
I know. I'm slightly embarrassed right now.
Pasty wet. How dare you?
Well, I mean, at least you have some like blush going on. He was like straight up pale white or pasty or not pasty, porcelain. He was straight up porcelain, vampire like. He was like. For those of you who still haven't looked at the gameplay and only just listening, imagine him looking like Jasper from Twilight, just pure porcelain skin tone.
Or the sections of my body that don't ever see the sun.
We should do a stale biscuit version of this for next season.
Should.
Yeah.
We should. Great segue, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the stale biscuit? Which, of course, I don't think it really needs any explanation, but the biggest just douche, idiot, whatever expletive you want to use, that's what the stale biscuit is.
Mm-hmm.
So let me hear it.
And I will preface this, stale biscuits has nothing to do with looks. It is character personalities, right? It is nomination. So you guess who you think I chose, and I'll have a quick sentence explaining it.
Madison Page.
Oh. I'm gonna read off all the things. So you have Scott Shelby, who is a murderer and can't cook. Madison Page, who is someone who butts into people's businesses and withholds evidence.
Literally butts into it.
Oh, God, Leah. The zebra guy, which I already forgot his name, but...
Paco.
Yeah, Paco. He is slimy and pretty much probably, I wouldn't be surprised if he's into the sex trafficking business. Ethan, a man who lost not one, but 2 kids, and he never sought actual help for his issues. So you have Scott, Madison, Paco, Ethan.
It's going to be between Madison and Paco, I think. I have to stick with Madison based off of... Not all of it even made it into the final cut. I cut a lot of Madison rants from you, so I have to say Madison.
Yeah, I mean, you already know. I mean, y'all been listening to me for the last 6 episodes, and you know how much rage I have. And I have a list of reasons, and I'm going to keep these short and quick. 1, she was irritating me to no end since the beginning. 6, she's nosing as F. 7, she's stupid as F. Where am I? I don't know. 9, she's absolutely reckless with the motorcycle.
You're on point number 9?
Yeah. She's absolutely reckless with her motorcycle driving skills, which just like swings it at the
Lady
police.
driver.
Right? It's just...
Go watch Trial and Error,
Yes.
everybody.
Sorry, that was a massive rant. We're going to have to cut some parts down.
I was going to say, you're like, this is going to be quick. I've been watching the clock since you said that. It's been 4 minutes.
Sorry.
It's been 4 minutes.
It's just such a missed opportunity for making a smart, strong female character. And they completely missed it. And it makes me angry.
They almost had it.
Did they though?
They did it a little too much with the butt. The
nudity.
I see, they think they accomplished it. And I see why they think that. But they're wrong. I'll end it. I'll end the rant there.
Keep my lips kind of sealed because I could go on for another 20 minutes.
Oh, I know. I cut about 20 minutes out of the last episode. Well, should we wrap this up with telling me the whole game QTE percentage and tell me if I was right in my guess?
Yeah, so I'm going to quickly go over. Your guess was 94.2. My guess was 97. The average is 92. So you're closer to it. It's pretty low. But in my defense, it was just me being confident in you and your hand yoga and ability to be awesome at QTEs for ridiculous things like piano playing.
Yeah, that one got me. I still like that you can see when I started to panic. You can visually see it. Same as when Madison's getting attacked. There's a moment of no return. Well, I don't know if I can call that a victory. I was closest, but it was lower. So I feel like we both lose in that. So we've mentioned the Reddit a few times. We're going to post a couple topics in there. So if you have anything to add to what we've been discussing, do not hesitate. Go hop on in there. It'll be in the Heavy Rain one, but you can just go to our Reddit, which will be linked below, but it is just replayreviewspod. We've also launched a Twitter at the start of the season, so this might be the first time you're hearing about it. So we're doing a new thing. We used to play a little bit of the soundtrack, but in an abundance of caution to not get copyrighted, and also it just is a little more fun. We're going to use a quote, an obscure quote from the next game. This one might be a little easy because there might not be any English to choose from, but we will post it on our Instagram and probably on our Twitter, so if you can guess which game we're playing next, I don't know if you'll win anything, maybe. Are we going to have prizes? It'll be easy, though, I'll tell you that now. But you will learn how it works, and the next one will be more challenging.
I just want to quickly, again, thank everyone who listens to us. Again, this is not something we're professionals at. This is really out of our pure enjoyment of being able to talk about storylines, and the fact that you've listened to us for the last 6 episodes. We appreciate it. We hear you, we see you, and we're thankful for you.
Absolutely. And again, special shout out to everyone who's been here since day one when we really sucked. A huge thank you coming from us for that. But we appreciate all of you, and we'll see you in the next game. You want to count us off?
Yes, Audacity on 1. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to send in any questions, comments, or game suggestions. You can find all our contact info on our website, replayreviewspod.com, or contact us directly through our site.
Did we completely miss something? Are we way off the mark? Or you just want us to take a deeper look at anything from the game? We'll tackle any topics you all want to hear in our season wrap-up episode.
We also have a Reddit where we discuss anything we're curious about. Go take a look and let us know what you're thinking. Our theme music is Condemned by Eggy Toast. They'll play you out, and we'll be back next week.